Welcome back, it's Nine, and today we are going to be discussing more about the PlayStation 5 release date and why we haven't heard about a release date just yet and what could be going on there. A great article came from videogameschronicle.com and it's been heavily circulating the internet, and I really wanted to go over it and talk about the major points here. But before we get into that, if you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to get notified about all my upcoming videos, and hit the like button. It helps the channel a ton. And if you're looking to support the channel even more, please consider becoming a member. Details will be in the description. Now let's get right into this. As I said, this comes from videogameschronicle.com. Article will be in the description, but we're going to go over the major points, and it's titled Analysis: When Will PS5 Release? Retail and development sources point to a mid-November launch for PlayStation, but pandemic could yet affect Sony's plans. This is why we are waiting so long to hear about pre-orders and software lineup. Companies are waiting until they can be as sure as they can about what they can deliver to consumers. Gamer Network's head of games B2B, Christopher Dring, told VGC. It's a complicated time, and you would typically place a strong bet on PS5 arriving somewhere in the middle of November, but things can change very quickly. According to VGC's development and retail sources, mid-November is exactly when PlayStation 5 is most likely to land. In the UK, we understand that PlayStation has already booked significant marketing spend for the 7 days commencing on Friday, November 13th. Multiple retail sources have also told us that a launch during this window would fit within their expectations. Development and retail sources also agree that Xbox will launch first. Microsoft has told developers to plan towards a launch in the very first week of November. We understand, which would also give it wiggle room to potentially slip into the second week and still launch ahead of Sony. Xbox sources indicate that the platform holder is also expecting PS5 to arrive within the week commencing November 13th. So this is nothing that revolutionary, right? We already had an idea that PlayStation was going to drop sometime in November. It only makes sense. Why would they release their console in December? That's wild, especially with Black Friday happening. We want to make sure that we make the most money possible before Black Friday happens. Now, obviously, we have to consider this, that they are dealing with a lot of challenges with the pandemic, right? Whether it be supply chain, whether it be being able to deliver these devices given the circumstances right now. So there's probably some sort of impact from that as well, but it makes sense that we're looking at a November release date. And it looks like we could be seeing the week of November 13th. And it's a Friday, which is when usually we see new games drop, we see consoles drop. So this isn't exactly something that would shock me. But this also does align with other rumors talking about November 13th being the release date. Now, they also do mention they are ramping up advertisements within the first 7 days leading up to the launch of the console, or the alleged launch of the console in the UK. And that kind of does line up with them, launching their console. Now, the thing is here, and this is a big thing, right, is that there's no real concrete evidence here. This is just insiders, alleged insiders, I should say. But this is a more believable, a more credible situation here than we've had with all these different leaks on 4chan, on Reddit, on Twitter. There's just been so many different things happening, and I feel like for once this feels almost more legitimate than any of them. And that's a little bit refreshing, because I know we're all getting tired of talking about alleged release dates and prices and all that stuff. Like, I'm getting tired of talking about it too, but when it's something so heavily rotating around on the internet, I have to talk about it, because number one, that's what I do, is I discuss PlayStation, and number two, I need to either address whether I believe it's real or whether I believe it's fake. And in this case, I think there's validity to this. I feel like this is something plausible. It actually makes sense that this could be the 13th of November that we're looking at. And we talked about this in the last video as well, where I said that Sony has already discussed that they are globalizing their next release, and they plan on launching globally all at once. And this is just proof, in a way, right, that I'm not the only one thinking like this, that people are talking about that plan still being in place as alleged insiders. And so this disproves, in a way, that these rumors of a staggered release are possible. Now, there's one more thing in this article that I want to talk about, and it talks about why we haven't got a release date just yet from either Microsoft or Sony. And it kind of makes sense in a way. I think that it could have some weight to it. It says launching a product during the Christmas sales period is not easy at the best of times, but with the pandemic still disrupting global infrastructure, neither platform holder can be confident of sticking to an exact date for their console launches, even this late in the year. That's the reason why the two companies are hesitant to share precise release dates for PS5 and Series X, and why even major retailers and development partners don't know exactly when to plan for. So it is interesting, right? With the thought that anything could happen, right? We are in a kind of a sensitive time where a lot of unexpected stuff is happening, and it does impact the production and the distribution side of things. So this could very well be the reason why we haven't got an exact release date for the PS5 or the Xbox Series X. And it makes sense, at least to me it does. If they were clear on a release date, and we know this from the past, that they would have already said it by now. I feel like this is way overdue, and it makes sense why it's so way overdue. A lot of people seem to think that they were waiting for Microsoft to go first, but I've been saying since the beginning, I really don't think that's the case. And the reason I don't think that's the case is because Sony is a leader in their field. In the games landscape, there's nobody above Sony right now. So they are the head. There's no reason why they would wait for Microsoft, who's in third place essentially, to show their hand first. They don't need them to do that. Obviously, their strategy's still involved. They don't want to just show everything and just not care at all. But when it comes to release date and price, I don't think they're really that concerned. They are going to sell out completely. I think they know that they're going to sell out no matter what they price this thing at this point. And they also know that they don't need to be concerned with Microsoft's release date either. So I don't think it's that, and I've never thought it has been that. But this seems to make way more sense of the situation. Once they know for sure when they're releasing, I think they'll definitely give us an exact date. And maybe that's, in September that we find out exactly when that's happening. Clearly, it is a little too early for them given the situation. But in terms of like previous generations, it definitely feels overdue because it is overdue. But we have to remember that all the stuff that's going on right now was not a thing back with any of the other generations that the PlayStation was launching a brand new console. But I'm going to pass this on to you guys, and I really want to know your opinions on this. Number one, do you guys think that Sony is waiting on Microsoft to show a release date, or do you think that this very well has to do with why they haven't given us a release date? And lastly, do you guys also think that November 13th is a plausible release date? And do you think they'll be launching globally as I've been preaching for the last, 3-4 months? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell to get notified about all my upcoming videos. Hit that like button. It helps the channel a ton. Follow me on Twitter. Link will be in the description. Share this video with a friend. And if you are looking to support the channel more, please consider becoming a member. Details will be in the description. As always, I will talk to you guys on the next one. Take care.
You see, stereophonic sound for the home is recorded on 2 separate tracks, each one giving special emphasis to certain sections of the orchestra, as heard from those positions. Now, when played back simultaneously on 2 separate systems, the sounds are blended together to achieve a new dimension in sound impossible to obtain in a mono.